What's going on, everybody? We are here with Master Crafted, and we are doing another Mind Over Meta. Phil, how are you feeling today?
Well, Lane, I'm in teams mode. I am in overdrive. The Denver 40K Fight Club, we're getting together this weekend. We got at least 3 games lined up just for Saturday, so we're going to rapid fire through those. I got Ryan from Wyoming. He's coming down to meet me on Sunday so I can get some reps into the new World Eaters. I am in all out, send it. I want as many games as possible in as short time as possible to get ready for this team tournament. I'm excited. What about you, Lane?
Yeah, it is coming up fast, dude. I am so excited to keep digging farther into teams. But before we do that, we got to let people know what's winning, what's out there, what they should be taking. So let's go ahead and dive right in and talk about what has been winning this last week. You know, Stat Check was kind of what we originally started using. We've switched over to just using 40K Meta Monday. And their blog, they recently updated how they do their statistics. So we want to make sure we're giving them a shout out for helping us, bring some good info to you guys and kind of break down what we are seeing. But who is topping the, X and O, X and 1 this week, Phil?
Well, so with the most amount of X and O, X and 1s, it's my boys. It's the shiny golden boys. Stodies have 11 X and O, X and 1s and 1 singular event win. We got 47 players playing it. We got a 51% win rate. Who would have thought Lines is good? And that's what everyone's running, understandably, because +1 to wound and +1 to hit is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, they definitely doing great. It took them a little bit to get started there. They weren't performing quite as well as we thought they would out of the gate, but people are onto them now, and they are doing work with almost a quarter of the people playing them going X and O, X and 1. So hot damn. But we've talked enough about them. We will keep moving it down the line in terms of other armies that had high X and O, X and 1s. Both Tyranids and Imperial Knights had 10, and each of them also took an event win home this week. So that is pretty good. We talked about Knights pretty extensively this last week. Tyranids, Phil, what's just keeping these guys up at the top?
Well, previously, it was Invasion Fleet. Everyone's running it. Everyone really likes it. It's where you have the most amount of players. And Frank, one of our Strat Reserve guests who comes on quite often, will speak very highly about Crusher Stampede. They are quite good, and they did get 4 X and O, X and 1s, as well as the only event win from this past week. So Crusher Stampede, Invasion Fleet, both have a high player count, and are both being successful at a competitive level, which is good. Malceptors, Norn Emissaries, I've seen 2 of those just drop them on objectives and say, can you kill Norn Emissaries? No? Well, this game gets a lot worse for you because you can't. So, yeah, seems good.
Yeah. Always love seeing some bugs on the board. Try to delete some big ones when we can. Can't be sad about that. Up next, in no real surprise, Eldari still sitting towards the top with not only 8 X and O's, but the first of these to have 2 event wins. They did have only a 46% win percentage this week. So, I think people probably are starting to maybe play them too much. Starting to get, they're getting guard syndrome. They can take home event wins and get some good X and O, X and 1s, but too many people are just playing them.
I mean, people are starting to get more comfortable playing into Inari, and that is where your highest player base is. That's where both your event wins are. But I will say it doesn't matter how many times you've played into it, speaking from experience, it is still very, 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 very good. And it has so many tools and tricks, and in the hands of a good player, it is quite solid. Overall, no surprises here. Next up, Space Marines with our other 2 event wins, 6 X and O, X and 1s, 53 players. Once again, who would have thought? Gladius, it's a good detachment, especially when you have a cheap character, cheap in the sense of what you have to pay and what you get of an obnoxious amount of CP and double oath if you decide to take it, and +1 to wound and reroll all hits, and just that's what makes Space Marines good. And Space Marines are good. So no surprises here. They are still at the top of the meta, but it is interesting that they're able to still maintain event wins with how tightly packed this top of the meta is. So yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Those skilled players who can really abuse that double oath, mostly are taking it to some success. This has some of the most players by faction at 53 on the weekend. I think it was the highest, which is no surprise at all. Up next, we have Emperor's Children with 7 X&O, X&1s, and 3 event wins. Hot damn, they came out of the gate swinging, Phil.
So when we talked to John Holbrook, and we talked to Matt, and we talk about the Emperor's Children and Frank, about the new Emperor's Children detachments and all these things, the one thing that we keep getting told over and over again is Emperor's Children in the right matchups can push differentials. They can score incredibly well because they are so incredibly fast. And if I remember correctly, all 3 of those event wins were coterie, which they were. All 3 of them were coterie, and pretty much everyone is playing that detachment. I'm sorry, Matt, no one is playing anything else besides coterie. There's only a handful of players doing anything else, but it shows how effective it is. And they do have a 65% win rate with that detachment, which is a bit obnoxious, but a new detachment coming out. Demon Princes are good, Noise Marines are good, Infractors are good. I see this number going down once people have played a few games into it, but Emperor's Children, really, really solid. That's what you want to see out of a new codex, right?
Yep. Yeah, they did also have one player who was playing Peerless who also went undefeated but did not get an event win. So, shout out to him as well. But yeah, Emperor's Children, they are going to come get you unless you know what you are doing. And if you are feeding coterie extra units, oh god, does that army hurt on the differential score. Definitely need to be ready for those in teams. They have some high diff potential for sure. Up next, we have Necrons, who also had 6 event X&O, X&1s, but no wins. They were playing Awakened, same as last week. Anything we really need to go over with Necrons? I feel like just another solid week.
It is another solid week. They are still good detachment. They have a lot of tools. People are still running Star Shatter, which is interesting as well. They had 3 X&O, X&1s that were all running Star Shatter. I think as a whole, the Necrons probably feel, I would say a lot of their players feel a little bit underpowered compared to how they've been in the past. But I think as a whole, that army is very good and you have tools within it. I know you wish that you had more detachments that were probably a little bit more effective, but overall I think it's good.
Yeah, doing well with some of those detachments. Probably going to see a fair amount of those in teams just because Necrons are a pretty consistent army across the board. Up next, World Eaters with 5 X&O, X&1s, but no wins, and a player count of 39. It has been climbing over the last few weeks. People are getting pretty hyped about that, the release of all the new rules and the codexes, or they're dooming, so it seems the hype, or maybe it's just people playing as much as they can with their World Eaters before they shelf them for a while. I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens after the new rules are live.
I think they're wrong. I think for those that were dooming and glooming have now realized the folly of their ways and are like, oh my god, World Eaters are so good. So good. I'm looking forward to playing Ryan on Sunday, but they're not the only ones that have seen an increased player count. Death Guard as well, always been a popular army. Plague Legion is still good. But these new detachments, these new data sheets, these new everything, this is the one that if I would put my money on anything, I think this player count will triple. Like if on the first week of release, I think we'll see 60 players playing Death Guard. That would not shock me.
Yeah, and probably a 60% win percentage. If I was a betting
That's
man.
also probable. That is also possible.
They're probably going to do... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if Emperor's Children are coming out with a 66% win percentage on their first week of being actually fully live, I think we can count on the new Death Guard Codex being able to boost similar results on release. Back to our rankings, though. Orcs were up next with another 5 X&O, X&1s, but they did get 2 wins out of that, and both of them were with Warhorde. No real surprise there. It has been the favorite pretty much since DACA got the nerf, with almost half of their players deciding to take Warhorde. It is very, very solid. And then kind of rounding out some of these other factions that also did well, we have Guard with 5 X&O, X&1s, and no wins, and then 4 X&O, X&1s for Leagues of Votann, Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Knights, and Chaos Demons, with Votann and Knights being able to snake out 1 win apiece on there. Just some generally kind of middle of the pack armies right now for a lot of people, but they're still able to find the end zone for some of those this week, which is good to see.
Absolutely. The meta shows that it's in a healthy place, except for 2 armies that currently are struggling a little bit, just with not a lot of players and not a lot of support. It's Black Templars and Imperial Agents. Who would have guessed? They are at the bottom. Black Templars especially paying for their sins of the past. If I never have to see like whatever it was, 4 Crusader bricks. Again, I am very pleased because I saw that once when we went down to Champs Cup for teams, and I'm like, this is awful. I don't want to play this ever again.
Yeah. Also, they did get 3 X and O X and ones, but Tau with the lowest win percentage of 38%, also hurting. 19 players on the week. Just not a great time to be Tau. It is looking like crazy when lots of good, strong melee armies and Ynnari are in the mix. Tau doesn't do well. Who would have thought?
Well, I'm sure when we talk to John, when we bring him on again, and we talk about teams, I'm sure he will have some points of wisdom for all our individuals who are playing Tau and are a little down in the dumps. There is a way around it. It's a highly skilled army, and you have to be able to execute on it. But Lane, we've gone through them all. Let's talk about the things that the majority of people came here for. It's going over the lists, all the things that we're ready for, all the things that we want to talk about. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think we are going to start out with all 3 lists we brought up this week are from teams events. And these are some of the top placing players that went to those events. We're getting geared up. So we might as well look at what some of these players are taking. And, they obviously had great success with these lists in a environment where you get to pick some of your pairings and your boards. So, we'll maybe talk about that, what you're looking to do with your terrain picks after we talk about the list as well. Up first, we have Martin Cooper's Astra Militarum Combined Arms list. All right, let's see here. Cadian Command Squad, solid. I understand that. 2 Catachan Command Squads. Oh no, 3. Nope, just 2. I'm blind.
Just 2.
Gonskos, 2 Ogren Bodyguards, 1 Rogaldorn Commander, Ursula Creed, 1 unit Acadian Shock Troops, 2 Catachan Jungle Fighter units, a 20-man Krieg unit, a 10-man Krieg unit, 1 Torox, 1 unit of Kazarkin, 1 Leman Russ Battle Tank, triple Vanquisher, and 1 Calidus Assassin. How do you feel about playing against that list?
Lynn, I don't understand this list. It doesn't make sense to me.
I concur. Well, there are some choices there. Being able to probably have table pick and a little bit of opponent pick as a defender potentially, or even, choosing some things to go into. It's just, I pray you don't run into invulns with triple Vanquisher, I guess.
Yeah.
It is not a list it's not my style per se. It does have plenty of good screening and trade pieces with the Catachan units and the Krieg units to just go out there and die. Ursula Creed giving you some extra free strats. This does seem like it was meant to deal more, trying to really use the lethals. Seems like they're trying to do it more with their infantry side of things than their tanks. And that is why instead of opting for more Dorns to be abusing the lethals, they're going with Vanquishers, things that will be wounding tanky targets on 3s still and able to kind of help deal with them. But in general, this list is not going to be going into Imperial Knights a ton, I would assume. Command squads have the sneaky tech with the Ogren Bodyguard. You can choose not to attach them to the Catachan squads and stuff and just put them in the squad with since it's just another leader. It's really, really weird, but you can do it. It allows you to just use the toughness characteristic of the Ogren while also having a feel no pain on the character unit. And so those command squads are overly tanky for 105 points. It is harder to kill than a 10-man squad.
But they don't have Deep Strike or Infiltrator or anything, right?
No Deep Strike, no Infiltrate. This is just you can infiltrate the Calidus if you're a wild person who doesn't mind risking that dying immediately. But yeah, it's just got a little bit of Scout, and it's just really trying to play the mission with those bodies. You can also infiltrate Gun's Ghost, but again, you're probably not wanting to lose them super early. It's possible. It's not what I'd run, but obviously, you can still win with Guard running some command squads, Vanquishers, and just some bodies. It is possible.
Okay.
Sorry.
Martin,
sorry, Phil.
We need you to tell us.
I feel like I'm not helping anybody because I don't understand why I would never run this list. I do They do their things. They do their things. I just think there's better things to do. But, obviously I'm not the person who went X and O. So
yeah, Martin, you did incredibly well. You're going to have to tell us if you're watching this. Maybe throw a comment in there or shoot us a message because we are having a hard time understanding how this is so effective. Or maybe there are specific matchups that you were targeting? Because for me, I don't know if Custodians are necessarily really afraid of this. The Mortals from the Deathcore Krieg, sure, that's a little scary. Lethals kind of suck because you're circumventing my toughness, but I don't know if Custodians is the best matchup. Is this a blunting list where you're just trying to score as many ports as possible into whoever comes into you, and you're happy with that? Obviously, because if you definitely need board preference here, right? Like you need to go early. You probably need a light or medium heavy board, which I think medium heavy is even more open than medium light is, but you probably need board preference, because if you get stuck on a heavy board with all these tanks, I think you're just done, right? Like you are just, there's not a chance in the world you could maintain a scoring lead in that game unless you're just hiding everything behind walls and nobody can shoot you. So it is very interesting, but it does show that Astra Militarum does have a significant place in teams.
He did have a 20-0, and it was against Lions of the Emperor.
That is
according
wild.
Yeah.
Is it just because he just outscored the individual? Like he's just got more bodies? That's the only thing that stands out to me, is like he's got so many bodies, he's willing to trade all of them
I don't know, Phil. We're gonna have to cut some of this because I just don't know. I literally, and there was a Vanguard Tactics team, the Top Cut, Team England, and the Mind Goblins.
And he was on Mind Goblins. Martin was.
And he was on Mind Goblins. Yeah, and his pairings, his third person he played was Patrick Harrison, who was running Custodes, Lions of the Emperor.
The only explanation.
I just don't know how that list choose through Custodes for a 20-0 though.
It's true.
I'm in disbelief, sir. And then he 17-3'd a dude who was playing Crusher Stampede. He 14'd a Death Guard player, 3'd a Warhorde player. How does that list just not get eaten?
Warhorde?
And then another Warhorde player. Twice. He was 17-3 the first time, 16-4 the third. And his last round was Warhorde again. He played 3 Warhorde armies. And I guess, like, that at least, I guess, makes some sense. Like, with enough lethals and their shitty save, right? Like, having just fucking 5-ups or whatever on orcs.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Can't explain it.
I'm sorry.
You're going to have to look into it.
It had its job. It did its job very well. It did not go into any tank spam. Huh?
I said, just going to have to look into it some more.
No, it did, actually. It went into fucking Crusher.
Yeah?
Yeah. Such is life.
Are you ready to move on to Pepe?
I'm ready. Bring on Pepe Andrew.
Killed it.
Pepe Andrew up next, running some Devoted of Yenid. What are we looking at in this list, Phil?
Well, it's very similar to stuff we've seen in the past. You got Vizark, you got Avrain, you got an Autark, 2 of them. Makes sense, understandable there. You got Cabalite Warriors, which are just a scoring piece, a unit of Dark Reapers, a 5-man and a 10-man, which I know talking to Nick and playing into a 10-man is really nice, especially if you can get those firing lanes. It is quite good. 2 units of Fire Dragons, which I think is actually the right amount. I think 3 is too much because you put yourself into bad positions. 2 units of Howling Banshees, which I love. Unit of Rangers, a 10-mana Swooping Hawks, which with the Mortal Wounds is really nice, especially because that is within 8 inches invisible. They can do quite a bit of Mortal Wounds on the turn they come in. And 3 Warp Spiders. These are essential. I would not leave with home without it. If I'm running an Ari, I'm taking 3x5 Warp Spiders. They're just too good. A unit of Incubi, which is going to be your Fight First brick. It's a 10-man. It's going to have Rain. It's going to have Vizark. It's going to have all that stuff, and it's just not going to die. And then a Wave Serpent, and then a Venom. So a couple extra scoring pieces. One of those is obviously going to have the 10-mana Cabalites, which is probably going to be the Venom. And then the Wave Serpent's going to have probably the Fire Dragons. The one thing that stands out to me here, yes, we have Rangers, but we don't have, oh crap, what are they called? Striking Scorpions. So no Striking Scorpions here. I'm not saying that that's essential, but it is a choice. I do like the Howling Banshees just because of the advance and charge. It allows them to go out there and go touch something that doesn't want to be touched. So they are quite solid, and this list as a whole is good. There is one person missing from all of this lane. Could you guess? Do you know who's missing from this that we've seen in like every other list?
That's not in here?
Yeah, that's not in here.
Could it be the teleporting paint in the ass? Could it be them? Could that be the missing piece?
Yes.
Oh, God. I feel so much better if I got to play into Eldar without the Incarn.
Yes, the Incarn is not in this list, and it opens up a lot of points for them, for the Howling Banshees, for the Dark Reapers, and as a whole, I think this is perfectly fine. The little MSU bricks are what Iniad loves the most, and this list is solid. So if I were to say this is something you want to run, if you were like, I want to run Iniad, I would be pretty close to copying and pasting this exact list because it's got all the tools that you need. But once again, it is a high skill army. So if that's something you want to do, I say go for it. It's a great list and it does incredibly well. So yeah, absolutely. Nothing much more to say about it though, Lane, unless you have any other thoughts, anything else you'd be concerned about.
No, I think you hit it right on the head. You know, the Incarn is definitely a problem for people to kind of play around and stuff. But once, you know, this has also been out for quite a while. I think people are a little bit more ready to see it, and they just know, oh, okay, I just need to make sure my order of operations and when I'm ready to fight or trade, that if the Incarn were to swap places, I am ready for that to happen. So moving away from that and just this MSU spam, I mean, from the get-go, this is what Nick was talking about running to a lot of success is it's just MSU with the post-opponent shooting phase movement is very, very strong.
Yeah. And all of these units are very killy. The Howling Banshees are great. If they can get a safe reactive move at the end of the shooting phase, they would love that. Dark Reapers love that as well, to be able to pop out, shoot what they need to do, and then really solid Fire Dragons as well. All your vehicles. It is just it's a very, very good list.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just solid shenanigan 40K.
Yes.
All right. Up next, our last list of this week, we have Koldo Bezgaz, Leagues of Votan, that he went undefeated at the, not even going to try, just the teams event. Do not know how to say those words. Those are foreign as hell. Einhir champions, 2 of them, 1 with the Appraising Glare, 1 unit of Hearthkin Warriors, 3 Sagittars, 3 units of Chthonian Berserkers, 2 units of Einhir Hearthguard, 2 Hecatons, and then rounding it out with 3 units of Pioneers and 1 unit of Jaegers. Pretty standard list, I feel like. We're seeing Chthonian Berserkers way more than we used to earlier in the edition.
Yeah.
Just having things that can go and fight seem like, you know, a good response to current armies in the meta, and Ynnari in particular. You want to be able to go fight them, not shoot them when you can.
All right. So I was counting it up. I was like, man, this feels like a good amount of units. It's 17 total units, including characters. And people may be saying, you know, Votan, they don't necessarily have the tools to compete at the top level. I would say that's inherently false, and especially in the teams environment, because they have some great matchups and they do score incredibly well, like we talked about in our Defender series, why people are taking Votan, and it's because they score incredibly well. It's because they keep all of these games close. And if we talk about an army that could do that consistently in the combat phase, in the shooting phase, in the movement phase, like this is exactly what you want to see. I will say the thing that stands out to me in this list, which I think is interesting, is the bikes. So that is 3x3 bikes, which are probably my favorite unit for Votan. I've seen people run 3x6 bikes. That's a lot of points, but they are just so good and they have so many shots and they have the mobility of being picked up at the end of the fight phase that I get why they are so good and they are so solid. I would love to have a unit like that in Custodes in terms of the mobility aspect, but very, very solid. And for a team's event as a whole, if you have a Votan player, you should be thanking your lucky stars, because Votan is incredibly solid in teams, and to the point that this individual went X&O and they were the top player.
Yeah, at this team's event, and the only person who was above him was his teammate Alvaro Perez, and he was running Eldar, and the 2 of them definitely were doing some work for their team with some pretty consistent armies, both of them putting up tons of points. The lowest his teammate had was an 18 on the differential scoring with Ynnari, and the lowest he had with Votan was a 13. So very, very solid. He had 2 20s as well. You know, they can definitely push that diff. This also, I don't know, I felt like 17 units for Votan. We had a video, trash is your treasure. This is why. You can just trade very well. You can force people to come out and just kind of play that attrition game against a lot of players, and the toughness that is just built into Votan being T5 at a minimum is just very good.
Yeah, we do have one honorable mention, Lane. And when we were scrolling through our data from Meta Monday, I was like, wait, that can't be right. There's no way. Absolutely not. Chadmech got an event win. What? What do you mean Chadmech got an event win? So we thought it was only appropriate to look it up. It was a 21 player GT. Alexander Englos. I want to pronounce it Alexander Inglasios. It sounds very like machismo, but I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But he was running the AdMech with the name Chadmech, which I think is only appropriate for taking army like that to an event win. He went 5-0, which is super impressive, and he deserves his kudos. So, Alex, congratulations. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. Underdog of the week for sure. Running, what was it? Cohort Cybernetica as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, congrats. That is awesome. Keep being a Chad for the Chadmech and repping. Well, I think that should wrap it up for this week's Mind Over Meta. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And do not forget, victory isn't given, it's forged. It's forged right here on Mastercrafted. And we'll see y'all next time.
Have a great night, guys.